Okay everyone, today we're going to do equivalent fractions. Alright, so what is equivalent fractions? Equivalent fractions are fractions that represent equal portions of a whole amount. So that, they're equal in values. The reason that you need to know how to, find equivalent fraction is later you are going to add or subtract fractions with different denominators. Say, for example, we have 2 over 7, and I would like to plus 4 over 5. All right? This is the skills what we need to know before we can plus or minus fractions with different denominators, and that's what we're going to talk about in the future lessons. All right, so today's lesson, I would like to show you how to write equivalent fractions and how to form equivalent fractions. All right, so equivalent fractions are formed by multiplying or dividing a fraction by a number that's equal to 1. Okay, so it's really simple. So equivalent fractions are formed by multiplying or dividing a fraction by a number that's equal to 1. Now you probably will ask, what is that possible, right? What's the whole point? If we times or divide it by 1, doesn't that mean like the fraction is going to be the same? All right, so for example, if we have like 3 over 5, if we times this number by 1, that's still equal to 3 over 5. Then what's the whole point of this, right? What is the whole point? Now, the whole point of this is 1 is so powerful. We can change that number 1 to any number I like, all right? So for example, I can change that number 1 to 2 over 2, because 2 over 2 is actually equals to 1. Right? And then we know that if we times the number by 1, you're not going to change the value of the number. Same with the fraction. If you times the fraction by 1, you are going to get the same fraction. So if we, instead of times by 1, we times by 2 over 2, then using the multiplication skills, all you need to do is multiply the numerators, and multiply by the denominators. And what do you get? You get 6 over 10. Now, all right, you're creating an equivalent fraction. That 3 over 5 is actually equals to 6 over 10, just because you times the fraction by 1. Now remember, I can change 1 to any numbers I like, all right? So another example of that would be 3 over 5 times by 1, but this time the 1, I'm not going to write like a 1, I'm going to write 4 over 4, right? Because 4 over 4 is still equals to 1. I'm just changing the color, 4 over 4. But this time, when you times it, you're going to times the numerators and you're going to times by the denominators together, right? So 3 times 4 is equal to 12, and then 4 times 5 is equal to 20. And then it tells you that 12 over 20, it is still equals to 3 over 5. And that's how you make an equivalent fraction, by multiplying, okay? By multiplying. Now, how do we do it if we need to divide, okay? If I want to divide a fraction by a number that's equal to 1, what do we do? All right, so it's going to be the same idea. So say, for example, we have a fraction. We'll have a fraction that's 10 over 24. Okay, 10 over 24. Now, if I divide this fraction by 1, you know that, right? If we divide a number by 1, the answer is still equal to 10 over 24. The value of the fraction still remains the same. But again, we can change the 1 to any other numbers, right? We don't have to write 1 as a 1. We can write 1 as like, 2 over 2, like the previous one, 2 over 2. So if we try to do the division here, 10 over 24 divided by 2 over 2. Now remember, you're going to divide the numerators, so that becomes 5. And then divide by the denominators, and that becomes 12. So that tells you that 10 over 24 is equivalent to 5 over 12. And that is an equivalent fraction. Another example I'd like to give to you is something like another fraction. This time is 75 over 100, for example. And I can divide it by 1. That's equal to 75 over 100. But instead of writing 1, I can write, 5 over 5. Because 5 over 5 is still equals to 1. And then if we try to use 75 divided by 5 over 5, you can see that if we try to divide 75 by 5, we are going to get 15, sorry. We're going to get 15. And then that you're going to divide 100 by 5, we're going to get 20. All right? That's what we're going to get here. Then that becomes an equivalent fraction. All right, so 75 over 100 is actually equivalent to 15 over 20. Now, we can keep dividing the 1, right? Or in this case, we keep dividing 5 over 5. Then we are going to get 3 over 4. So that 3 over 4 is also equivalent to 75 over 100. This process is called a simplification, all right? In the simplest form. Okay, so now speaking of a simplification, how do we simplify a fraction? Well, the simplest form of a fraction is an equivalent fraction with the lowest possible whole numbers in the numerators and denominators. So if we want to simplify a fraction, what we need to do is to divide by the highest common factor. All right, this is the skills that you need to be able to do. All right, dividing the highest common factor if you want to simplify a fraction. All right, so simplifying a fraction, what we need to do is we need to divide a fraction by the highest common factor, HCF. All right, so any fraction what you need to divide by the highest common factor. All right, that's how we simplify it. So let me just show you an example here. If we have that 30, let's just start with something, let's just say a bit crazy this time. Let's do 12 over 18. Okay, now how do we simplify 12 over 18? Obviously, there's a couple of ways you can do it, right? You can divide by 2 over 2, all right? And then what you get here is 6 over 9. But however, 6 over 9, you can still further simplifying this. So you divide this by 3 over 3, because that's the common factor, and it gives you 2 over 3. Now the question is, how do we change from 12 over 18 to 2 over 3 in one step? And then the key here is the highest common factor. So you need to be able to find the highest common factor between 12 and 18. And the highest common factor here is equal to 6, right? That's the highest common factor. So HCF is equal to 6. So if we divide it by 6, right? If we divide 12 over 18 by 6 over 6, then you're going to get 12 divided by 6 is 2, and 18 divided by 6 is equal to 3. That's how you work out the answer. All right, so this is how you simplify a fraction. Now we're going to try a few more. Let's try a few more examples. All right, how do we simplify a fraction here? All right, so another one here would be something like, so let's just say it's the second example, 36 over 120. How do we simplify this fraction? Now, it's not that easy. Sometimes it's not that easy to find the highest common factor, especially when you have a larger number. So, question like this one, what I would do is I would try to find a common factor. Doesn't necessarily to be a highest. I can find just one common factor and you try to simplify this a bit. All right, let's just do it like step by steps, right? You can simplify this one by dividing both numerators and denominators by 6. All right, so that gives you, what do you get? You get 36 divided by 6, and then 120 divided by 6. So you get 6 over 20. Now, as you can see, 6 over 20 is much easier to simplify further, right, than 36 over 120. So I can now further simplify this by dividing the highest common factor between 6 and 20, and I guess that's just 2. So 6 divided by 2 and 20 divided by 2. That gives you 3 over 10. That way, you can further simplify this one into 3 over 10. Now, some students will say, hey, I can find the highest common factor, and the highest common factor here is equal to 12. So can I just go straight from 36 over 120 to 3 over 10? Simply divide everything by 12 over 12. Well, the answer is, of course you can, all right? Of course you can do that. But as I said before, sometimes it's not that easy to find the highest common factor whenever you have a larger number, all right? So it's not that easy, okay? So in that case, I would suggest you do it step by step, all right? Otherwise, you're going to waste a lot of time to divide everything, to find the highest common factor in the first place. All right, let's try another example. So let's see this one here, 64 over 48. All right, pretty large, all right? Now, you know there are, pretty... I think a lot of common factors you can find. Now, if you do want to find the highest common factor, yes, you can. But I guess this question here, I will still use the method I used before. I would like to simplify this one a bit before I, try to simplify everything. All right, I just want to do step by steps. So the common factor, I know the common factor is 2. You can divide by 2. You can try 4 if it works, right? Maybe 4 is not working. Maybe 4 is working, but I would divide by 6. Oh, yeah, I'll try 6. Okay? Or maybe you can try 8, all right? Because 8 is slightly larger than 6, and then it's still a common factor here. All right, try 8. All right, so if we divide it by 8, so we're going to use 64 divided by 8, and we're going to do 48 divided by 8. Once we've done that, all right, we can simplify this. 64 divided by 8 is 8. 48 divided by 8 is 6. All right, now you can see that becomes 8 over 6. Now we can further simplify this by finding the highest common factor between 8 and 6. And the answer is 2. So we can divide everything by 2. All right, that gives us 4 over 3. So now, just by doing 2 steps, you actually simplify the fraction here. All right. Now, as I said, you can find the highest common factor, all right, if you want to, but it does take some time to do it. Okay. All right. So now, what I want to do is do a really hard question, a really large question, like a large number here, and let's do it without using the help of a calculator to simplify this answer here. 742 over 224. Now, without using a calculator, I guess the way I would do this question is step by steps, right? I'll try to simplify this one to a smaller number possible where I can simplify it later, all right? So I'll divide everything by 2 since those numbers are even numbers. So try to divide this number by 2. All right, so if you do 742 divided by 2, then you are going to get 371. And then if you divide 224 by 2, you get 112. Now the question is, can we further simplify this? All right, that's a really interesting question. Can we further simplify it? If we can, what is the highest common factor? If we can't, does that mean that's our final answer here? All right, not that easy here, this one, all right? So 371. Is there any common factor here? All right, now listen, 2 is not going to work. So 2, not going to work. What about 3? 3 is not going to work because if you add all the digits together, it is not going to be a multiple of 3. So 3 is not going to work. If 2 is not going to work, 4 is not going to work. 5, definitely not possible. All right, if 2 and 3 is not working, then 6 is not possible. Then we'll try 7. All right, so let's try 7. Let's divide 371 by 7 and see if that works. And then after we finish that, let's divide 112 by 7 and let's see if that works or not. All right, 7, okay, that's 5, 35, 21. Okay, good. Divided by 7 is equal to 53. It's working. Divided by 7 here is 42. And it's working as well. All right, so the highest common factor is actually equal to 7 here. Not a common number that you will see when you're simplifying a fraction. So that gives us 53 over 16. All right. Now, obviously, you can use a calculator in the future lessons. In the future, study, you can use a calculator to do it. But I'm just offering a way that, if the calculator is not available, how do we do it? We check each of the numbers here. All right. If it's not an even number, then 2 is not working. If all the digits combined together is not a factor of 3, so not a multiple of 3, then 3 is not working. Then if 2 is not working, 4 is not possible. 5 is not possible if the last digit is not 5 or 0. 6 is not possible if it's not a factor between 2 and 3. Then you try 7. And if 7 is not possible, then you try 9. And that's your last resources, right? If they're all not possible here, then highly likely that you've got a fraction that is not possible to simplify. Okay, so this is a pretty hard example. All right, now in the future lessons, I will teach you how to do the computation of fractions, like how to plus, minus, how to times, and divide fractions. All right, so make sure you subscribe my channel, please. All right, thank you.